Hello, Shoyan here. I'm a carpenter based in Japan. Today, I'm installing sashes and insulation. First, I install the door sash. A sash is a frame on the outside of a window or door. Aluminum isn't the only material used. There are wooden sashes from the old days, as well as modern-day plastic sashes. I start from the front door. In recent years, single door types have become more popular than sliding doors. The single door is more secure, and rain can't get inside easily. I believe the biggest reason is that houses and entrances are becoming more compact, so people choose compact single doors. Usually, the sill is cut slightly longer than the foundation before framing so that it won't interfere with the framing process. But this house's sill is uncut, so the width of the front door can be accurately measured. There will be no misalignment on either the right or left columns when installing the front door sash. I built a jamb for the sash. The material is 45mm studs. If it were 30mm, I would need to double it, so 45mm is the best choice. I only need to adjust the stud when adjusting the diagonal. In addition, the screw will be well secured. If 30mm studs are used, the screws won't reach the sash's hole. I'm now installing the sash on the front door. This type of sash can only be installed and screwed from the outside. The accessory screws are tiny and thin, so I use 32mm screws for plywood panels. The colors are different, but it's no problem to use them. I always use a screw for plywood panels when installing them because force will be applied to the sash. When installing a sash, I make sure to check the vertical with a laser level, then measure the diagonal. Of course, I also check the level, but by checking the vertical and diagonal, I get a right-angled and leveled frame. Since I have finished installing the sash, I install a temporary door. There is such a thing as a convenient construction door these days. In the old days, I installed the actual door during construction. I was nervous because I could scratch the door while building the house. I installed the small windows. For this house, only the front door has an aluminum sash. The windows have plastic sashes. Because they're made of plastic, I thought they'd be soft, but they're actually sturdier than aluminum. The advantage is that it won't be scratched much even if something like wood hits it. Plastic material bounces things off. A downside of this sash is that if one side is badly scratched, it must be replaced both vertically and horizontally. That's a point to keep in mind. The best thing about this plastic sash is that it's not prone to condensation, but they're a little expensive. I've installed the sliding window sash. I need to attach the included screw cap cover to the sash, but I can't attach it. I could only get the tip of my little finger between the sash. I'm stuck. I feel the window glasses are getting heavier these days. These two sliding windows were quite heavy, so I had to struggle a lot to install them. It must be very costly if the glass is broken. I start installing the insulation on the wall. It is cut slightly larger in order to fit tightly. To widen the space between the studs, I cut a piece of timber and use it as a tension rod. The insulation will overlap anchor bolts and hold downs, so I cut off only the minimum necessary and install them. Later, I'll spray urethane foam on the notches. It is tiring, hard work. I'm tapping and pressing hard repetitively. By installing this thick insulation tightly, it won't be as strong as a load-bearing wall, but I think it will act similarly to the diagonal braces. Through the foundation and ceiling, I used two pieces of insulation. I first installed all the bottom ones. All insulations have the same width. I cut the insulation pieces for the top and bottom of the windows, then install them with the top ones. I have finished installing the insulation. Next, I nailed the outside load-bearing wall. Since I pressed them from the inside, some insulation may be sticking out. I press the insulation back into place from the outside before nailing. If I don't, there may be gaps between the wall and the insulation, which can cause the molds to crack. I then go back inside and press the insulation outside so it attaches well to the molds. The insulation boards would be less effective if there was a gap between them. Around the corner, I install some pieces of insulation. The insulation is installed firmly, but I caulk around it and attach the same pieces to maintain airtightness. There won't be a gap after doing this. The work is simple. Caulk around the corner, then neatly cut and attach the thin insulation. But it is challenging. Insulation is coarse and rough. I'm pressing it so that it sticks to the caulking well. My fingerprints disappear after doing this work. I spray the urethane foam to the notches around the anchor bolts and the hold downs. Otherwise, heat from the foundation will be transferred through the metal to the building. I also install insulation on the foundation. Not only on the foundation, but there is floor. It's a foundation heat insulation method. I use 25mm thick urethane insulation. I caulk and attach the insulation around the ventilation opening, leaving a bit of space so that I can spray urethane foam there later. Throughout this house, the air is cycled under the floor, so the temperature of the ground is relevant. During the summer, the air and the sun heats the foundation. Once heated, the concrete doesn't cool down even after midnight. It's still hot the following morning. If heat is transferred, cool air won't circulate. That's why I insulate the foundation and 60 centimeters inside. In this way, no heat will be transferred. The ventilation opening will be closed during the winter, and the insulation will keep the heat in. That's what this foundation insulation is for. I have finished installing the sashes. The installation work is halfway done. I still have half of it left, so I will continue working hard tomorrow. That's all for today. Thanks for watching.